أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
الحمد لله نحمده سبحانه ونستعين به ونسترشده ونعوذ به من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه الطيبين الطاهرين وعلى من تبعهم وعمل بعملهم واستنى بسنتهم إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد, all praise and thanks and gratitude be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless our Prophet and Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. We seek refuge in Allah from the evils of our own selves and from the wrongs of our deeds. Whoever is guided by Allah will never go astray, and whoever goes astray can only be guided by Allah. I bear witness that there is no God worthy of worship except Allah, alone without partners. And I bear witness that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is Allah's messenger, prophet, and servant. I remind myself and I remind you to follow the teachings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran and the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and to apply them to your daily lives. My dear brothers and sisters, inshallah, today I want to talk about a topic that's important to every Muslim, about how we think of our lives and our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because there is a disconnect. If I were to ask any Muslim today a very simple question, and that is, who is in charge of your life? Very simple question. Who manages your affairs? Who's in charge of your life? Yes, the day-to-day management you do, but who is really in charge of what's going to happen in your life? And almost every Muslim who's asked that question will say, Allah. Allah is in charge. We rely upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have confidence in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The difficulty becomes that that's what we say, and we also believe, so it's in our heart, but our actions sometimes contradict that belief. And that's where the difficulty happens. So we believe it, we say it, but then we don't act accordingly. We fall short. And that's a problem. Because for Muslims, belief is not just with the tongue, nor is it only in the heart, but our actions have to validate what we believe. They have to validate what we say. Otherwise, we have a problem in our belief, and we need to correct it. What happens instead is that we get upset when things are not going our way. We get upset when we have outlined a plan and a different plan happens. We start getting, why? I already planned this, I arranged this, I arranged that. How could this happen? How could we have all these problems? We also get upset when bad things happen to us. Sometimes something bad happens, we get upset. People start saying things, why me? Why is this happening to me and not to him? Why did Allah choose to afflict me with this problem and not somebody else? And all of these kinds of actions go against what we believe, which is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in charge. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala manages our affairs. Let's look at the Quran. First, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, من بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم إن ربكم الله الذي خلق السماوات والأرض في 6 أيام ثم استوى على العرش يدبر الأمر ما من شفيع إلا من بعد إذنه ذلكم الله ربكم فاعبدوه أفلا تذكرون. Your Lord is Allah. He created the heavens and the earth in 6 days. Then he settled over the throne. He governs all affairs. Allah is telling us, He's in charge. He is governed and then go away and say, oh, let's let whatever happens, happens. No. He's governing all affairs all the time. There is no intercessor except after his permission. Such is Allah, your Lord. So serve him. Why do you not reflect? Allah is asking, why don't you reflect? Well, Allah created the heavens and the earth and they didn't just disappear. He's managing day-to-day affairs. In another ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يُدَبِّرُ الْأَمْرَ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ إِلَى الْأَرْضِ. He regulates all affairs, from the heavens to the earth. Everything. Allah's in charge of everything. Ibrahim alayhi salam, when they decided to throw him in the fire, they lit the fire and they wanted to kill him because he was going against their old beliefs of idol worship. In fact, he broke down the idols. And so to punish him, they wanted to throw him in the fire. And they lit the fire. And they actually threw him in the fire. What did he do? Did he cry? Did he say, why me? Did he say, how could this be happening? No, he did not. He had confidence in Allah. He said nothing. And Allah rescued him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rescued him. And you might think to yourself, well, that's Ibrahim alayhi salam. He's one of the greatest prophets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Of course he's going to rescue him, but what about me? I'm just a regular guy. Who's going to rescue me when I fall into the fire? Yes, it may not be an actual fire, but who's going to come to my rescue when I'm in need? And the answer is Allah. And I'm going to show that to you shortly. In the battle of Al-Khandaq, which is the battle of the trenches, all the non-believers in Arabia ganged up on Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and they decided to invade Medina, and their goal was to kill all the believers. But Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and the believers in Medina dug a trench to prevent the non-believers from entering the city. But in spite of that, the non-believers were making plans to jump over the trench or to build a temporary bridge to be able to cross the trench. But what happened in that battle? By the way, there was very little fighting, if any, in that battle. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent a storm, rain, wind, and they couldn't do it. They ended up turning back and leaving. Allah is there, and you have to believe that. That's the key. Allah is there. Allah rescued Al-Madinah and rescued the believers in Al-Madinah. I want to share with you a story today from Amsterdam. Amsterdam in Europe. In Amsterdam, there is a masjid. In that masjid, there is an imam. The imam gives the Friday khutbah. And he has an 11-year-old son. And they had a habit, after every Friday khutbah, the imam and his son would take a stack of pamphlets. The pamphlets introduce people to Islam. They're short, and the name on the pamphlet is The Road to Paradise. The Road to Paradise. And it introduces non-Muslims to Islam. And they go door to door, they knock on the door, and they greet people, and then they give them a pamphlet. And then they leave. That's it, simple. The idea is, whoever wants to learn more about Islam will read the pamphlet, and whoever doesn't want to will throw it away, that's fine. Their choice. On one particular Friday, it was snowing. It was snow. It was extremely cold. Amsterdam gets cold, not like us here in Santa Cruz, it gets cold. It was below freezing. And on top of the snow and the cold, there was wind. So after the Friday prayer, the young boy came to his father and he said, "Are you ready?" And he had the pamphlets in his hand. The father said, "Look at this weather. How can we go out door to door in this weather? We won't survive. It's freezing." The son said, "No, we still have to invite people to Islam. We can't stop." They had a discussion, and the boy decided he's going to go by himself. And the father reluctantly allowed him. He said, "It's okay." So he took some pamphlets, and he dressed up, and he started going door to door. And when he did that, they would open the door, he would give them a pamphlet, they would see a young boy, he would smile, and he would give them a pamphlet, introducing them to Islam. The last pamphlet he had, the last one, he knocked on the door, nobody opened. Nobody opened. He thought to himself, this young boy, he said, "I'll go to another house. Maybe they will be home." But something came to him and he said, "No, I'm going to knock again." And he kept knocking on that particular house. Ringing the doorbell, knocking, ringing the doorbell, knocking. Almost 20 minutes. He was in front of that door in the cold, waiting for someone to open the door. And finally, after 20 minutes, somebody opens the door. And it was an older woman. An older woman. And she was crying. This older woman was crying. The young boy looked at her and he said, "Why are you crying?" She said, "I'm sad. My husband died a few weeks ago, and I have no children. I'm all alone." He said to her, "Do not be sad. Take this pamphlet and read it. You will feel better." And he gave her the pamphlet and he left. A month later, in the same masjid, after the Friday prayer, a woman stood up and she said, "My name is so and so." She's from Amsterdam. She mentioned her name. And she said, "I want to tell you that I'm a new Muslim. I accepted Islam recently." So naturally, when someone accepts Islam, we ask them, "What is your story? How did you come to Islam?" So they asked her, they said, "Why did you come to Islam?" She said, "One day, about a month ago, I was in my house and I was depressed and I wanted to kill myself. And I got the rope and I suspended it from the ceiling. And I got a chair and I was ready to hang myself. I want to kill myself. And while I was in that moment, someone was knocking on my door. And they insisted and they persisted and they would not stop knocking. So I opened the door and I saw a young boy. And he gave me a pamphlet. And I read it. And I felt happy and no longer wanted to kill myself. And I began to learn about Islam. And I'm here today to declare my shahada. Allah will come and rescue you. Don't think Allah is just sitting on the sidelines. He is not. I want to share with you another story. This story happened in Pakistan. This is a real story. And it happened to a doctor in Islamabad. This doctor was the best doctor in his field. He was well known, and everybody wanted to see him. Anyone who had a medical problem wanted to see this doctor because he was very good at what he did. And one day, this doctor had to travel. So he had to fly to another city because he was going to attend a medical conference in that city. So he went to the airport and he got on the plane. And after the plane took off, there was lightning in the sky. Shortly after it took off. And the lightning struck the engine of the plane. And the pilot had to do an emergency landing in a small airport, in a small town. So he landed the plane, and all the passengers had to come off the plane. And they went into this small airport, and this doctor, his name is Dr. Ishan, Dr. Ishan went to the counter and he said, "I have to go, I have a conference. Is there another flight that I can catch?" And they said, "No, we're a small airport. We don't have another flight. You have to wait till tomorrow. We're hoping by tomorrow we'll fix the plane. And then this plane can take off and continue the journey." The doctor said, "But I don't have time. I have to be there." They said, "Sorry, the only thing we can think of is you can take a car or rent a car or something and drive. You can drive. It'll take several hours, but you'll get there." So that's what he decided to do. He took a car and he began to drive. And as soon as he got on the road and was driving, it started to rain heavily. And there was wind and fog, and he couldn't see. And he ended up going on a road. He did not know where he was. He got lost. He wasn't sure how to get to the city he was traveling to. And while he was on this small road in the middle of a forest, trying to find his way back to the city, he saw a small house. He saw the light from a small house. So he decided to exit the road and ask them for directions. Maybe they'll help him. Meanwhile, it's raining heavily. So he reaches that house and he knocks on the door. And a very old woman opens the door. Very old woman. He says to her, I'm sorry, I'm traveling and I'm lost. Can you give me directions? I'm trying to go to this place and how do I get back on the main road to find my way? She said, well, I don't really know. I'm old, I don't drive. I don't know how to go. I'm so sorry, I cannot help you. He said, is there a man in the house who maybe can help me? She said, no. I live here by myself with my grandson. He said, okay. And as he's talking to her, he looks inside and he sees the young grandson lying in bed. The grandson is lying in bed. And he, being a very skilled doctor, he looks at the young boy and he says, your grandson looks sick. Is he okay? She says, no, he's not. He's very sick. He's been in bed for a couple of years. He can't walk. Subhanallah. The doctor was intrigued by this. What's wrong with this young kid? Why can't he walk? He said to the older woman, where are his parents? I mean, you're the grandmother. Where are the parents? She said his mother and father died. The young boy is an orphan, and I'm his grandmother, so I'm taking care of him. He said, why don't you take him to a doctor? So far, she does not know that he's a doctor. She's never met him before. She doesn't know who he is. And he didn't introduce himself. She said, I called every doctor in town, and they came to see him, but they don't know what's wrong with him. And they don't know how to treat him. And they told me, the only way you're going to treat your grandson is to take him to Islamabad. Because there is a doctor, his name is Dr. Ishan, who specializes in this problem. And when you go see him, he will help your grandson. But the only problem, she's telling the man now, she's telling Dr. Ishan, she doesn't know he's Dr. Ishan. The only problem is I don't have the money. I don't have the money to travel to Islamabad to see Dr. Ishan. I called to make an appointment with him, but they told me there's no appointment for 8 months. That's how busy he was. 8 months. Dr. Ishan started to cry. He said to this woman, subhanallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought lightning, so my plane will fall to the ground. And then he made me drive in the middle of a storm and get lost so that he can answer your dua, so that he can arrange the affairs of your grandson. I am Dr. Ishan from Islamabad, and I'm here to take care of your son. And that's what he did. He took care of the young boy. He ordered medication and tests and whatnot. And he would spend many years taking care of this young boy. He actually paid for everything, for him to come to Islamabad, have more testing done. And he continued to take care of him. The point of telling you these stories is to realize that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is there. You may not be convinced of that, but that's the truth. And similar stories happen to every one of you and me. They might be small, they might be insignificant, we may not even think of it, but Allah is there and Allah is watching over you. When something bad happens, it may be because Allah is trying to avert something worse. Allah may be actually protecting you. You say, I'm sick, why am I sick? Better that you're sick with something minor than getting something major. So Allah is there watching. Never lose hope. Never lose confidence in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's who we are as Muslims. Believing in Allah doesn't mean just believing He exists. No. But believing that He is in charge. That He is the one who arranges everything for us. And is overseeing every aspect of our life. And that Allah loves us. And that Allah will answer our call if we call upon Him. Allah is there. Do not ever think He is not. Don't ever think, I make dua, Allah is not listening. That's not true. He decides when to answer your call. He decides when is the right time for something to happen or not to happen to you. Don't think you know best. You don't. I don't know best. None of us do. Allah knows best. And that is a confidence that we have to have in our hearts. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله فاستغفروه. الحمد لله ولي الصالحين وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Musa alayhi salam was born at the worst time. When he was born, Fir'aun was killing all the males of Bani Israel. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveals to his mother to put him in a small box and to throw him in the river. I mean, if you're afraid for your son, will you throw him in the river? An infant? No. But that's what happened. He told her, if you're afraid that they're going to come kill him, put him in a box and throw him in the river. What's the end result of that? The end result is that he ends up in the home of Fir'aun. That's the end result. Musa himself, alayhi salam, when he would lead Bani Israel out of Egypt, he comes and he reaches the ocean. How are they going to cross the ocean? They cannot. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes a path for them. Fir'aun is right behind them. Allah rescues them and Fir'aun drowns. Allah's there watching everything. Don't think things are random. There is no such thing as randomness. There is only the will of Allah. That's it. Yusuf alayhi salam, his brother take him from his father and they throw him in the desert. They wanted to kill him first, but then they decided they'll throw him in the desert. Then he's picked up by some traveling caravan and they enslave him and then they sell him as a slave. Allah says about this incident, كَذَلِكَ مَكَّنَّا لِيُوسُفَ. That's how we arranged for Yusuf to be in a solid situation. You see, all those things that happened in his childhood, he would come out to be an important figure in Egypt. And his brothers, those who left him, would come begging to him. They want some food. Can you imagine? Allah's there. That story took many years to materialize. Don't think this happened when he was a young boy. He didn't become in charge in Egypt till he was just 20, 30 years later. Allah's in charge. He decides when is the right time. Not you, not me. And that's what we have to believe. We have to have confidence. And you think to yourself, well, he's telling us stories of prophets. Yusuf alayhi salam is a prophet of Allah. Ibrahim alayhi salam is a prophet of Allah. Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is a messenger and prophet of Allah. Musa is a messenger and prophet of Allah. And I'm just a regular guy. You know, it happens to regular people too. I told you the story of the woman in Amsterdam. The story of the young boy in Pakistan. Allah's there for all of us. Don't think you're excluded. No. Allah is watching the affairs of everyone, even the animals, not just us, animals. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provides for the birds and the cats and the dogs, and all the animals. You don't think He's going to provide for us? Of course He will. Allah's there. Never lose that confidence. Let us make dua. Allahumma hdina fi man hadayt, wa afina fi man afayt, wa tawallana fi man tawallayt, wa barik lana fi ma a'tayt, wa qina wasrif anna sharra ma qadayt, fa innaka taqdi bil haqqi wa la yuqda alayk, wa innahu la yadhillu man walayt, wa la ya'izzu man adayt. تبارك ربنا وتعالى لك الحمد على ما قضيت ولك الشكر على ما أنعمت به وأوليت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك اللهم اهدنا لصالح الأعمال لا يهدي لصالحها إلا أنت اللهم اهدنا لأحسن الأخلاق لا يهدي لأحسنها إلا أنت اللهم أصلح لنا ديننا الذي هو عصمة أمرنا وأصلح لنا دنيانا التي فيها معاشنا وأصلح لنا آخرتنا التي إليها مرجعنا اللهم اكفنا بحلالك عن حرامك وبطاعتك عن معصيتك وبفضلك عن من سواك اللهم بفضلك ورحمتك أعل كلمتي الحق والدين اللهم انصر الإسلام وأعز المسلمين اللهم انصر الإسلام وأعز المسلمين اللهم انصر الإسلام وأعز المسلمين بفضلك ورحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين إنك يا ربنا على ما تشاء قدير وبالإجابة جدير اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا وآخر دعوانا دائما الحمد لله رب العالمين. أقم الصلاة.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
حقا لا إله إلا الله استووا واعتدلوا أتابعوا الله. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. ضرب الله مثلا للذين كفروا امرأة نوح وامرأة لوط كانتا تحت عبدين من عبادنا صالحين فخانتاهما فلم يغنيا عنهما من الله شيئا وقيل ادخلا النار مع الداخلين وضرب الله مثلا للذين آمنوا امرأة فرعون إذ قالت رب ابن لي عندك بيتا في الجنة ونجني من فرعون وعمله ونجني من القوم الظالمين ومريم ابنة عمران التي أحصنت فرجها فنفخنا فيه من روحنا وصدقت بكلمات ربها وكتبه وكانت من القانتين. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. والتين والزيتون وطور سينين وهذا البلد الأمين لقد خلقنا الإنسان في أحسن تقويم ثم رددناه أسفل سافلين إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات فلهم أجر غير ممنون فما يكذبك بعد بالدين أليس الله بأحكم الحاكمين. الله سمع الله لمن حمده. الله الله أكبر. الله الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम, क्या हाल है सर? नहीं Let me turn on the light here. Oh.